It's 4, I think, yeah. Okay, and I'll try to do my best today. First of all, as been said, I'm from the Eindhoven University of Technology in the Netherlands, and it's in the south of the Netherlands. And to introduce our school, I will start with a little film clip, so I don't have to talk too much. Okay, so let's go there. Okay. This might give you an impression of what we are about. When one of my collaborators saw this movie, he said, "Where is this place? I want to go there." But anyway, I'll start with something else now. I think that we should dream from time to time. Okay? And what are these dreams, or are my dreams made of? I think we should reach a new way of thinking. I think our society needs new ways of thinking. New ways of thinking based on accessing intuition through doing and reflecting, and in that order, doing and then reflecting, and not the other way around. Empowered by integrating disciplines. I think this new thinking is embodied in our staff and students by the way of a new craftsmanship, integrating the physical and the virtual, or the electronics. This new thinking is expressed in a new dynamic interactive form language based on ethicalized aesthetics. I'll explain all this a bit later, okay, because it might seem a bit weird, but anyway. This new thinking enables us to master highly complex interactive systems. This new thinking is exercised in lived labs, you saw some examples here, that are multi and interdisciplinary and even transdisciplinary, and flourish through a strong participation of industry. And this new thinking is industrialized by a Center for Innovation and startup companies surrounding the university. These companies work in areas such as new light system. We just started a new light lab, interdepartmental, so between faculties. I think it's very important. And of course, you know that Eindhoven is Philips town, no? Everybody should know that. So light has always been very important. Intelligent environments and smart wearables. We also started a wearable sensors lab just a while ago. You saw some examples from that. And we're collaborating with Adidas, the sports people, for that. Shall we listen to the music or to me? Let's move on. Now some Dutch, especially for Pauline. Is it still far? Is it nog ver? Okay. Is it still far? I mean, how far are these dreams? Where are we at the moment? Okay. I'll try to give you an impression of the state of the art where we are at the moment. So don't forget, we're not an industry, we're not Nokia, we're not Philips, we're a school. Okay. So our first thing is in teaching. Our second thing is in research. Okay. So, but we'll try to integrate it, as I said before. So I said something about opening intuition through doing and reflecting. Well, the mission statement of our faculty is designing intelligent systems, products, and related services. When we use the word intelligent, we mean something like electronics with it, no? But we mean something more also. We mean that systems are starting to behave, to respond to us. Now, when systems start to behave, even start to move, how should they do that? It's a big question. We don't know the answers to it yet. But I'll give you some hints how it might be. What we did, first of all, because I said we're a teaching institute, we created a new educational culture. So, based on reflecting on doing. From day one, when the students come into our place, they have to start designing. We don't teach, okay? We don't teach, they just have to work. Then we help them with reflecting on their work. It's competency-based. You saw the 10 competencies coming by in the film clip. Okay, it's competency-based. They have to develop. The students have to develop their competencies. The students design their own development. We don't tell them what to do. They want to become designers, so That's what they have to do. They're responsible for their own development. I had enough, because I've been teaching for more than 30 years now, and I have enough to, take somebody by the hand and tell them where everything is. They have to find it out for themselves. They're responsible for their own development. Also, come on, students are assessed on their development, so we don't do exams. I always tell my students, I'm not interested in what's in your head. Okay, anyway, mine is better. So why should I be interested? No, that's not the thing. The thing is, I'm interested in their hands, how they are able to think with their hands in making things. So I'll say it once and I will repeat it. I'm not interested in conceptual design as a final product. I'm only interested for the final product of what the students do in working prototypes, full working prototypes, and I'll show some examples, okay? At some point I will start talking and show you a few clips of their work. Also, what we find very important is the integration of research and education. Integration is a key word here. It will come back a few times in my talk. Right. Also, we developed a new design process, and I'm not going to talk about it, but if you're interested, I can give you a reference to a paper, and there you can read it, and then try it out, because the reading can be the end. It's the doing that's the end, no? And it's called the reflective transformative design process. And it jumps all the time from doing, reflecting, and confronting. We don't say user testing anymore, we use the word user confronting. Confront your stuff with the users, okay? It should be clear. Right. I'll give you a small example of playing with light. And I think the film clip, and it shows the process, let's say, it shows the process and, well, just look at it. I mean, why should I explain what you can see? Okay. Several things are important here. This was done for the Random Dance Company in London, but the work was done in San Diego together with David Kirsch, University of California. But what is important here to notice is that, first of all, we needed a working prototype, and a good working prototype, because it had to be used for the opening of the new dance performance, so people could experience what sort of, or were tempted to try out the sort of movements that the dancers are making. Of course, you can't make those movements, but just to give an impression. Now, lights seem to be a very good way of luring people into it, right? But again, a full working prototype. This is a one semester project. These were 3 master students working on it for 5 months, okay? And it was used for the opening in London also. Right. Integrating disciplines, and this is a belief. a belief, not a fact. I think when we start to integrate disciplines, and you will release a true innovation force. But the problem is big. The problem is indeed very big. Because what we're trying to do is to integrate engineering, we're an engineering school, science, obviously, and design. And these are three fields that normally don't integrate because they're separate fields. But we want to try it. We want to try it into also to create a new integrator, new students, new persons that are able to do that. So we hope that we can educate people that are in the middle of these three, in the intersection of the three circles. But you might know that for yourself, it is a very difficult thing to do. But I think it's a thing we have to do. We have to reintegrate disciplines again. Not to abolish the disciplines, but to get the overlap again, because everything is separated in our world. Okay. Our approach has always been designing for skills through skills. Now, there are design skills, that's obviously there are design skills, but we're designing for human skills. You could call this a human-centered design or whatever you like to call it, but we're very much focused on what people can do with their body. So obviously, we're interested in perceptual motor skills in the first place. That is what I can perceive, how I perceive the world, and what I can do with my body. Remember, the electronics are only, the functionality of the electronics are only accessible through mechanical means. My hands, my body, okay? So there's always, that's why we have interfaces. We need buttons because otherwise we can't access the functionality of the electronics, right? Now, that is the major question. How do you do that? Okay, perceptual motor ones. Obviously, there are emotional skills. Emotional skills have been very much neglected, even in psychology. My background, quite a long time ago, is in psychology, and emotions is something that's been studied only in, when things derail, when you become a bit strange. But normal emotions as such are not a psychological subject. It is a bit strange, but that's the way it is. So to bring back emotions into the thing, we're going, obviously, the cognitive skills, what we know, okay, but we don't stress them too much. And the social skills. There's always a social dimension to people, right? I'm not telling you new things, you know all that. What we've been trying out, for example, on the level of perceptual motor skills is this interface exercise, interaction style exercise. This is a camera that works without buttons, but with sort of natural interaction. So if you want to keep this picture, you just move it towards the memory card and it will slide on. It will tell you it's being saved, okay? Where you don't like it, you just close it again so you're not saving it. I'm not saying we have to go to this sort of products, but it's an exercise in seeing are other things possible. If you want to review the pictures, you just slide the viewer towards the memory card. And if you want to switch it off, you just close it. Of course, this is not a perfect thing as such. It's just an exercise. Can we do it in a different way? Again, we tried it out with models, but it's not working, because people don't understand what they have to do with it. So you need a full working prototype. Again, new craftsmanship. I was talking about new craftsmanship and new skills. Now let's review a bit. Design started with what we call design for appearance, for objects, right? Like cups and tables and chairs and whatever, right? They operate in the same medium as the design challenge. It is in the physical, in the mechanical, okay? But we moved towards design for interaction. And there the design challenge concerns not only the form, but also the behavior of the product. Feedback, feed forward, stuff like that. These have to do with the design of the temporal characteristics of interaction. In other words, it becomes dynamic, no? It's completely different. It becomes dynamic. And then now we're moving towards design for systems, and the skills required for design of systems will be different again from the skills required for the design of interactive products. But how will they be? We don't know yet. If things start to behave, again, I said it before, but things start to behave, how should they behave? We don't know. Please come in and sit down, because it's not very comfortable. There's lots of room over there. Okay. Also, when we think about designing systems, there is a problem. It is difficult, if not impossible, to have an overview of the complete system before it exists. Okay, because otherwise it's not a system. If it can't develop itself, it's not a system. So you don't have a complete overview, nor of its impact on society. Not only is our grasp of the system limited by our point of view, but systems also allow for many different valid points of view due to their inherent complexity. Okay, but you know all that better than I do here at Nokia, I'm sure. Let's move to another point, another thing I said in the beginning, a new dynamic interactive form language, and I think the designers among you might be more interested in this thing. I'll show you a few examples of second-year students. They had to design a little thing that gives you a nut, but it had to have expressive behavior. Now, how do you do that? So just look at this one. Now, everybody will recognize this as being a bit angry, no? It's not a very friendly thing, okay? So we are sensitive to that sort of expressivity, we know that. But again, this is a second-year bachelor exercise to make the students sensitive. I'll come back to that. To make the students sensitive of what it means, what the problem is. How do I show you another one? Because it's such fun. I have to hurry up a bit. The behavior of this one is completely different, no? It sort of offers you the thing. It's very polite and it's a bit shy, no? Okay. How do we turn it down a bit, sorry. How do we access this sort of, everybody's talking about experience here these days, but how do we make people, students in design, do we make them sensible to things? Because you have to be, if you want to design for experience, you have to be sensible for things. Now, one of the exercises we did, and this is done with our students and Japanese students, is a 1-week exercise. So first of all, after the first day, the students have to come up with film clips that, taken from real life, that sort of, in interactive aspect, show you the mood of the music. Okay, then when they've done something, they make interactive mechanisms. This is not interaction for a functionality, but just trying out interactive possibilities, right? And then they come up with a sort of final design. This is not a functional thing. This is an exercise in aesthetics of interaction, trying out new things. But again, also here after 1 week, we need working prototypes. It's magical, isn't it? With a few sensors and a few motors, you can do quite a lot. In a more mechanical way, look at the following. It's the same sort of exercise, but it gives you an impression of the sort of things we've been doing. So there are no electronics here, it's just trying out things. This we've done in Italy. Again, this is to develop sensitivity in our students. I mean, to give you an idea of what an experience consists of. And move away at the same time, move away from the normal sort of interactive mechanisms that is buttons. Yeah, we use classical music because if we tried also with pop music and the like, but then the visual imagery is far too strong. The image is too strong. And here, most students don't know anything about classical music, so they don't have an image. Sorry. Look at this one. The first one is a little film clip. This is done after 1 day work, okay, by the student. Well, I said the students don't know anything about classical music. Does anybody know what this is? See? What were you laughing about? Now, this is Bartók, and it's music from the 30s, and I don't know, because the student doesn't know it, but he gets to some sort of Bauhaus sort of quality of you've seen the Bauhaus dance movies, I don't know, maybe you recognize some of it. I think he had fun. But anyway, I have to move on. And then he comes up with a product, okay, an interactive product. Now, how do you interact with a thing like that? In this case, he has to shake it to calm it down, okay? So these are different explorations of interaction possibilities. Well, you get an idea, no? Well, so it has to shake it to calm it down, right? Now, so that's also when products start to behave, what should we do? Now, how should we design for that? It's a very important question. Look at this one. This is done for the Philips Creative Challenge. It's called Casper. It explains itself. It's called Casper because it's the little ghost. Yeah.
Ja, ik heb een vriendinnetje, jongens.
Ja, heb je gedaan hoor.
Hier komt hij.
Ja. Ja, klinkt goed man.
Ja.
Nou, je kunt dan ook op die boxen aansluiten, dus dan ben je even bijhouden.
morning, and I'll spend my whole life with you. The sweetness of your smile helps away with all of my fears. If it should all come so deep into anyone else, you are a place within my heart.
So again, you see the how should the loudspeakers ask for attention or show their possibilities? Tell you, look, I can do this, right? Here they start to move. Maybe that's not the best solution, but it's how are we going to perceive that something is intelligent and can do things for me? We could put labels on everything, but then we have to read all day. So maybe there might be other possibilities to do it. That's what we try to explain. Look at this one. This is nice, I think. Now, everybody knows that most machines are very unpolite, no? When you want to buy a Coke or whatever in one of those machines, you have to put them, the first time the money drops through, then you have to get the money out of this little slot and you hurt your fingers. Then you have to put it in again, then you have to punch a code, and then I mean, it's all ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And with a few sensors and a few motors, you can solve the problem, huh? Why isn't the problem solved? That's the question. Now here, what is also very interesting is that, you know, the cans are, if you would really experience it yourself, it's even stronger than on a film clip. The cans seem to follow you. It's the same effect that you have with a painting, that the eyes seem to follow you. They're looking at you when you move along the painting. So you get this sort of effect here, but here there is effective movement of the cans. So they're asking for your attention to say, I can see you. Don't you want me? Something like that. Okay. Again, these are all sort of trying out things. I'm not going to talk about big theory, at least not very long. But let's go also to something that's been in experience design has been very important and still is very important, is embodied design, okay? Embodied interaction. Look at this example. This is a very little thing, very simple. It's a music browser, okay? There is a light-dependent resistor in there. There's some XB so it can communicate with your music program, and there's a battery in it, and there's also an accelerometer in it. And this is all very simple. You also sort of stick the music in the beginning. That's basically an on-off switch. It's nothing more than an on-off switch, but you start to behave expressive with an on-off switch, which is nice because you give it physicality. Okay? You give it physicality, you make it embodied. It is something. Here you see the same sort of effect. Just look at the picture.
Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game. You so fed up of the same old broken man.
So there's just two little sensors in there, but you can start to play with the world in that sense. So people are going to take about playfulness. I mean, you can start to play with the world, which is fun. This is an exercise we did. This is an exercise we did for Microsoft. The research challenge they have every year, and they invite a few schools all over the world, and this is what our students came up with, among other things. So this is not to replace a conversation, but to try and trigger a conversation, okay? So the mother finds the thing and it opens up a conversation. This is also... Okay, but this is also a full working prototype. That what is important for, I think, for design. So now they start to talk about hamsters. This is another project we did for, one of our students did for Microsoft Research in Cambridge. And so it's a device that can take pictures, record sound, and also record short clips, and it reacts to sound. This is a prototype. I mean, we have a nicer one without any cables. So also, this one also reacts to touching. So what it is meant for is to be used, for instance, among parties and other occasions. So it will take pictures just like that, because normally if you take pictures, people are going to straighten up or whatever.
Wat ik hem steek doen, en dan moest op die bed blijven, de muur slaan, ik dan moest in een rolstoel. Natuurlijk wil ik het niet, ik ook wel mee. Dit wil jij lang te wachten. Ik heb het ook achter daar, ja. Ja, zo goed ik moet pakken.
But this is the sort of environment that I think can be used in. And apparently it's been used in tests also, because that's what we also do, user confrontation as I called it. And after a while people don't notice it anymore. So it becomes part of the surrounding. But it's not just making it like electronics-wise, which is difficult, but the difficult thing is how should it behave? Should it go like quickly or slowly? Should it move? All these questions are very important. But I shouldn't show you people smoking now, should I? So I'll skip it.